we're liking that staying close to those spots. Yeah. One or the other, either parry or go down. Good. Good. Tends to show that. That's why you want the fingers working. That's better. Yes. Don't forget we want putting the hips together. Already. Well, it must be the heat today. What is it? What is it? July. It's not here. Okay, now take octave or second and then toss the heat through. Yeah. And close up the distance more. Okay. Yeah. Stick that time, but yes, you can really shut the distance down. Yes. Sorry. I don't know whether that was me or you not clearing it, I don't know. There we go, good. Okay, now from that position, you're then going to come down, collect the blade, get an octave or second, hit round back. Right, because yesterday we were getting to fix quite low round there, weren't we? They were quite good. Good. And then the third hit, what's that going to be? Of course. And there.
You know, zip to me.
Sorry?
You know, zip to me.
Possibly. Possibly, I don't know. There, and, oh, maybe. Now then, at the moment, of course, you're actually passing me. And you're getting that hit. So pull parallel and see if you can get this hit and the one back as well. But don't go past it. The referee's going to start all the there, and there, better. Set. Okay. Okay, and step forward with a direct feint and then attack by 1-2. Good. Each time you're looking to beat this final parry. I caught blade. I think you caught my blade there, Rob. You're catching yours. Good. Same thing. I think you went too early on your disengaging. In this instance, I am parrying, so you're looking to react to me. Parrying or attempting to parry. I was going too early then. In a little bit we'll do a different variation where that becomes a possibility. There, yes. Good. More like this. Too early. Too early. Good. Okay, in the next variation, I look to parry in the last moment, so I'm not going to respond to the feint straight away. Still going to do 1-2, but the initial disengage is a feint into the closed one. And then you come round in such a way that I don't have time for that late out.
Right, so it's feint.
Yeah, done the feint. There's going to be no initial reaction at the moment, and then you're progressing the action down here, so your foot should be in the air, and then at the last moment, there. And that's the only time I have an opportunity of doing that part parry. But you should beat me to the hip. Good.
Try and fix it on there.
Well, I mean, what's the reality of most fencing hits? It's very often rare that you have that luxury in a match that it sort of lands perfectly like that, but you beat your opponent to the parry, don't you? So I think this is quite a characteristic action of what happens in the match very often, isn't it? And you get debating coaching about doing these kind of actions with blade on. I think the way to do it is to simulate the late parry. Parry that's too late is one of the ways to do it. The other way is sometimes when your hand is too low, you use that to get the hand in. Also, it marks the timing of your action, I think. So it has a number of functions there within a lesson. Good, you see? I was too late, I couldn't. Now you can actually vary the timings on this a bit, can't you? So long as you get depth, you can go quite slowly down there, you can go faster down there. When you get depth, and then you need to get there first, and you can judge that distance. Good. That was a really nice hit, solid hit. Good. One more like this. Good. Okay, so if I stand my ground and try and get the leg parry, you're going to. So we have other options. I can do an early parry, but I'm not going to go for a cart. I'm going to do a circular cart. So I'm going to do it. So when you're feinting on the outside, circular cart. We've done this before. You've got to see whether I do that and feint that. Or if you see me starting to step back, you turn that into a second intention down the cross. Yeah. So we've got three possibilities. I try and take a leg parry, hit me. Try and do circular cart, get around that. Or if you see me stepping back, you know it's going to be second intention. Yeah? Good. Did you actually recognise it?
Sort of. I mean, with this exercise, you just carry on really.
Well, ideally, I mean, my intention there is that I step once your lunge is starting, so no ability to attack. But ideally, you notice that in the lunge and you change your intention, so it does become genuine second intention action, rather than just react to the fact it's being parried. Ideally, because you then have more control of what you're doing. I think you see this in higher level fences. You can see the moment, halfway through attack, where they sort of change their intention and present the leg a bit more rather than throwing themselves into the hip. There it is going. What about that time? You saw it? Okay. That's quite, I mean, if I step very early, you could add a second step, couldn't you? You could do that rather than the second intention. But if you're mid-lunge, you're not going to add an extra step.
Where do you see it? Just the feet?
Yeah. Also, it's often a sense that there's movement, or the target moves away a little bit. After that's where you're going from the target. If you see that move, then that's going to be the best judgment of the hand move. Because, for example, if I maybe do a feint of the step back, and I draw you into something that you would do if there was an actual step back, I can catch you out of it. The other options as well. Got it, very good. Yes. Yeah. Saw it that time? Okay, it's not, I'm not doing big steps, so it's not necessarily easy. So the best if you can actually pick it up and deliver it in what you do. Saw that one, sure. Yeah, big step. I think you saw that one. Good. Yeah, I mean, we looked at the advantages of using circular parries, but sometimes you might have to put a bit more strength and power into doing it, to collect it from quite a wide range. Good. Yes, that's that down. Good. Okay. More. Oh, not quite. Just as a sort of little variation, let's see if we can do one. Again, I'll just do the leg parry, but what you're going to try and do is not commit the arm so fully on that initial feint, and then really speed the extension of the arm towards the bit later in out. It's going quite deep on the first escape. It's okay, but you've got the option of sort of being there and then really speeding the point up a little bit later on. Just a slight different variation. I will always try the leg parry. Yeah, a bit less still. So on the step, nothing more than that. Then the foot's going to go, and then the arm's going to really shoot out towards the end.
So just this.
Yeah, on the first bit, how much do you have to move it? Hardly anything. You know, in practice, it's often barely perceivable. Nothing more than that initially. And maybe as the lunge starts, it doesn't really extend initially any further than that. And then the point comes out really quick again. Yeah, a bit better, yes, good. Try a few others so you have a good sense of where your arm is. Yeah. Okay, one more. Good. Okay, these are interesting ones to look at from the side actually sometimes, so you can actually see how much you're going with that. And I think also with compound actions, sometimes if you start with your arm here, right, now I can step forward. I've started extending, but I've only got to where I might normally be, in that position. And then you can really develop a compound action. So one thing I found over the years is that good foilists hit much harder than good epeists, because an epeist is out there pretty much straight away to hide the arm after the guard, so he attacks on all that. The point doesn't land as heavily. Maybe so really lands solid. Punching ribs out sometimes. Because his arm will just shoot out so fast. Okay, now this next time we're going to do the attack by 1-2. We're going to step forward, engage the blading cart as the beginning part. Yes. Okay. Yeah, we want to get this engagement really top quality. The preparation in any fencing attack, the preparation needs to be at a extremely high standard. So make sure you begin your action with the point, so you reach out with the point just fractionally before the foot moves. And get to there. Okay, see that there? Right. Okay. You're doing a quick movement, which is good. Then you stepped and you engaged from a station without a step forward on the actual engagement, but put the hand moving a little bit furthest, and then there's a step combining with it. So that preparation is enabling you to get into this. There. Yes, that's better. Like that. Yeah, it's good. Okay, now this next time, again, one we've done before. If I don't move, you hit. Okay, we've got that same thing that you can get into, and then I can't get to the parry. But if I do step back, sort of quick or cross step forward, smash the blade and cease, and create a pressing action in that scenario. Can you see that? So I don't move it with 1, 2. Yes. I missed it. That sense of finding the end blade, which is something we've been trying to develop. Isn't it? Good. Okay, yeah, there's the idea. That's it. Yes. Little sneeze coming on. Oh, see what we've got. Yes. Okay, nice and finish. Good. What happened there? Sorry? Faint off. Yes. There it is. But this didn't move, did it? Yeah, that's probably where you want to judge the distance from. In this exercise particularly, if you make a mistake either way, you're sort of really messed up. So if you start rushing in and I haven't moved, I can attack you. But likewise, if I do move, you won't hit with the monster. So it's quite important, this exercise, to make the right choice each time. It's also the case that some fences don't react to that movement back foot. Some fences do. I think we talked about this. You can experiment with your opponents and see if they do. I know Iris does. If you manoeuvre and then you can put that movement into the back foot, it draws her into stepping forward. And it's a good trick against fences who do that. That you can bring them in, reel them in with that movement there. Some fences aren't paying attention to that at all. It's quite interesting.
The higher level ones, I suppose.
Well, no, not necessarily. I don't know if that's the case. Interesting area to think about whether higher level fences react to these different things in different ways. I mean, there's also, for example, little movements of the body that can have the same effect in getting opponents to step forward and back. I would even call this a footwork feint. I'm pretending that my feet are moving, but they're not. And I can use that for the same type of thing. Good engagement of the blade, which is good quality preparation. Okay. Good. The ceased was quite good. Try and get, if you can, probably a cross step. So I think I'm going to get away, but immediately I'm under pressure. And then I have to keep moving. So I want to feel that pressure immediately following my step back. I think I'm safe to say, oh, you're in my face. Okay, not bad. No, it's coming. I did feel it. I did feel that. Let's try it.
Is this cross step necessary, or can you like that?
Well, I think I wouldn't say it's absolutely 100% necessary. Some of this is down to where your preferences lie. Some fences will hardly ever use cross steps. Some will use a lot. Same with flesh. Some fences won't flesh. Some will. But you've got to cover that ground quite quick. And it could be a great big step, 2 fast steps. What feels comfortable for you? But from my end, I need to feel that pressure, that sense that I'm under some pressure there. You do cross steps. It's not you don't do them. I don't think. Is it?
Yeah, I mean, often when I'm shooting, I'll go.
Yes. Yeah. A cross step forward is something you sort of have to be cautious about because
you can't control this little bit step.
That's the risk, isn't it? If you're charging forward with a cross step and your opponent's in a position to attack, ideally you do it at a moment when they can't attack. Now this is why you're smashing the blade. So as to say, I can't get an attack off, and it should be very hard for me to do anyway because I'm stepping back. So you should be reasonably comfortable that I'm not going to be able to do that fast attack on your cluster. Yes, good. There you go. I felt pressure. I felt I was under pressure.
Yeah, what was the second? If you hit, you know, really like this, will it short circuit it or no?
You'd have to bend it a long way,
Right.
I think. And the other thing is, there's a time element, isn't there? Because it's going to take quite a while for that to contact in relative to the hit. But one thing we do see quite often, of course, is that it bends over like that and the point hasn't actually pressed in. That's very annoying when that happens, isn't it? Very frustrating. But it's why it's so important to make sure your foil is taped right up to the red tip, isn't it? If you've got a bit of tape missing from the tip there, that's when you short out.
Oh, is that what the tape's for?
Sorry?
Is that what the tape's for?
Yes, oh yes. If you fence without the tape on, you don't know this.
Well,
Especially right at the very tip there, because if there's a bit of bare metal there, it can very easily short out. So yeah. And the rule book says 12 centimetres, which is not very far, but that is many people like quite a bit more. But that's the most important rule to have for the tape. You can try it out, you know, just with a foil, sort of lean it against there, press the point in, and it won't register. Okay, a few more of this. Good. Okay, good. Yes, shoulder loose. Yes, I mean we can look at some.
like that.
It was a little bit sort of lacking in quality, wasn't it? I mean, again, if we're looking at, say, beats, we can have different purposes to them. One is for me to establish priority. Conventionally, even though beat is preparation, it's seen that I can gain priority because I'm more in control, I can get going first. So referees will often look to who did the beat as the indication as to who gained priority. But also, it can be a sort of really sharp action that really deflects the blade, and if you're not ready for it, that's what happens, isn't it? So that sharp smacking action with the beat. Sorry? No, that's an area we've been trying to get a bit better at, isn't it? Yassine was fantastic at that. Really smack the blade and use it as a way of changing the initiative, changing direction. You know, if I'm pressing you, you can take over by smacking my blade and then changing direction. Now, we're going to look at this. Okay? So I will start off with pressing action. I will keep my blade moving within this range, which I think is a good way of doing it. I'm moving between two distinct positions. The blade is quite wide, in principle hard to find. But what you're going to do is intercept that at the moment of your choosing, really sharp beat, follow that immediately with a step forward. In this instance, the step doesn't have to be sort of fast, it just has to follow straight away. So you're going to momentarily disable my blade, beat, and then just change direction. Use that as a way of changing direction.
How can those blades
How do you mean? What, with these? No, I would say not. I mean, this is why you won't see, I hardly ever see anyone fencing with these nowadays, because as soon as someone gives it a sharp beat, you've lost any advantage that that has. No, I don't think so. I think with a pistol grip, you certainly get a much stronger beat, I would say. That is, I think, one of the most distinct advantages of them. Okay? So if I start my pressing action, blade here, we're looking to intersect. Yes, you've got the beat quite nice, and then you want to try and get a step forward straight away. So that I have to move because I can't actually put an attack into your moving forward. Okay, so I start off. Good, and then go. Good, excellent. Okay, good. Yes, good stuff. Good. There, good. And the moment I'm a bit lazy with that, it's all done at the arm too much, you can evade that.
Yeah, it is often very difficult though, because loads of them have right out here.
Yes.
And then
Oh yeah.
Forward, you can't.
Like Ed, his blade is way off. It's always, isn't it?
I don't know how you can get those, because when you try, you have to go quite far out, and then
Yes.
really yourself over.
That sort of is the point of doing it, just to make it very hard for someone to find the blade.
Jumped in and hit it, you run away.
You can, but you know, this fencer who's out here is relying on the fact that they think they have superb control of their point and can get in there fast enough. You know, someone who hasn't got that level of control is doing this.
In that case,
Yes, against. You can maybe just make this person miss if they haven't got the ability to finish actions. I have a lot of discussion with a number of fencers, particularly girls, about how far out they think they can get away with their blade being and still hit, which is the key consideration, isn't it? And some fencers who haven't got that precision will have to be about here, and consequently their blade is more easily found. You know, it's a judgment that each person has to make for themselves in a sense. But you can find it, you know, even if it's quite wide, you know, if I can concentrate the movement here at the hand, I can find it. And even if you're trying to disengage, you got it, good. But you see, it's not easy, even though I'm coming from a long way out, because I can concentrate it in the hand a bit more, you can find the blade, and that's the skill you want to try and sort of develop here. Okay, so we go again. I'll start off. Good. Yes, good. That step. Yes, good. That was good. I couldn't reach it. I couldn't get there. Good. See that one coming? It's all too arm. If you've got it here in the hand a bit more. Change direction. You push. Good. Good. Let's go over to here a bit more so we've got a bit more space to move around in. Yes, very good. Oh no, missed that one. Good. Yeah, try and get the step in straight away, remember. Because otherwise I regain control of my blade and then I can tap on the step forward, can't I? You want to sort of force me to move. Yes, very good. Yes, very good. Yes. Yes, good. Missed it. Nice one. Yes, get that step. Step's a bit late. This is down to sort of this being anchored a bit, isn't it? Having the feet sort of anchored a bit. Now, on the retreating side, what do we often do? We often get down a bit lower and we're a bit more ready to do something, so we can introduce that. On the advancing side, we might be a bit higher, and so that we can get more of a flow to our movement. Stick. Yes. Yes. Again, just a bit slow on the step. Good. Yes. Very good. Oh, yes. Good. Sorry. Yes, that was it. That's right. You sort of plan the beat a little bit, so you can see where the blade's going. You see the moment where you're going to go. Find it. Yes, good. Yes. Yes. Yes, like that one. Good. Yeah. Good. Good. Okay, and relax. Right, we're going to take circular C-steps at the shoulder. Good. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, so do the first flick, and then flip round to the side here. And you want to get both hits in quick succession. Okay, yesterday's, wasn't it Tuesday? But you had it working quite well where a lot of the movement was very much concentrated in the hand, you know, as opposed to these kind of things. That was working quite well on Tuesday. They were hitting quite consistently, I felt. Yes, get better technique. If you need to adjust your feet, your distance, then do that. Good, that's good. Yeah. Yes. Yes, you might need to be slightly closer for the second one. Yes. Sorry? I think so. That last one's a bit low, really. If you can get a little higher, it's even better. Yes, that's good, that's good. Yeah, right. Now we're going to add to that. You're going to take the blade, do not hard, and come round and do the piece of around as well. So 3 hits. My fault rather than yours. Yeah, good. We can put a little bit of an angle on that, can't we? Okay, there we go. Yeah. Yes, okay. Try to ensure that you don't neglect the quality of the flicks with this. Yes. Okay, get some speed back into it as well. Okay. Time between each hit. Start short, good. Good, you can do the same action left hand. First one is on this one. No. This side. Yes. And then round. Okay. Oh, no. These ones down here, I think they're probably old. I think they're old. There, yes. That one's gone. Good. Okay, I can put a bit of movement in this as well. So distance can change. Stay there, just get your hand out a little bit more. If the distance closes up, you can have more angulation, can't you? Yes.
I'm doing that, I'm trying to do it so fast that I've already started, and you're going back.
Yeah, you've already started what?
Well, the flick.
Yes,
You know, everything.
but you've then got to let your foot take over. There are moments when you sort of end up leaning into the hit, and in general we want that to be avoided, and you want to have active footwork so the feet will do the action, so you keep that upright position there. There's times when it's not going to happen, but generally that's what you want to do. A little bit more. Yes, and no. Oh, okay, good. One more. And no, good. And no. Okay, now come. Yeah, just stay there, but the back foot's not going to move. All right, you're just going to be evading the blade, and the back foot will stay still. The foot can move, but not the back foot. Yeah. Try and follow my pace rather than, I might do things quick, I might do things slow. Find whatever technique you need to use to get the point to on the target.
I'm doing this at the moment. This
How much control do you feel you have?
Well, a lot of great,
Yes.
You know, like,
yeah.
my hand doesn't really,
Different people do things in different ways, especially, to get close quarter actions, but some people find it very hard. I've never found it tremendously difficult to actually get the point back to those positions by more flexible wrists or anything. But, if you can sort of, we looked at this before, haven't we? If you can, yes, it can slide around in your hand a bit, and if your hand's loose, you can get it to there, look, over there.
close quarters is very difficult for that.
Yes. It's a skill that takes some development. These particular exercises are quite useful for that. So you can hit in all positions, all sorts of things. Hit from the wall, hit the all these things in close quarter. With David, we would spend vast amounts of time in this kind of exercises, and it's quite good with close quarter, all sorts of ways. Okay, here we go again. Here, of course, we're at our normal hitting distance. And the lunge. We want to go from this side, from this side. Yes. At the moment, we're not particularly close, you see. The referee is not going to call halt. Certainly need to be able to fence at this distance. Yes? Of course, with COVID, we've been neglecting close quarter, haven't we? About social distance, we did start hitting this. Yes. Again, fitting the pace of my actions. I don't know that particular grip is going to, if you can slide between that and a conventional grip fairly quickly, maybe. Don't cover with your back arm, that's it. Okay, that's an area for development potential, isn't it? I think a lot of skills in close quarter, they come about through improvising and fencing bouts, where you inadvertently found yourself too close and you just have to improvise and do something. Still that long call halt. And relax. Okay, circular ceased. Let's fix it on your shoulder this time. Right, and then if I evade the circular C's, take cart, but hit with opposition. So each hit is there. Yes. Yes, I think it gives an opportunity on the left hand to actually bear down on that leg. There, good. Good. Yes, good. Now I'm going to do that same sort of action, but as a form of attack. I'm going to do ceased as an invitation. All you're going to try and invite me to do is you're trying to disengage, and then you're going to oppose the blade of the cart, hit with opposition and blow. So you step forward with ceased invitation. Maybe I respond, maybe I don't. Try and, not be too deep down on your blade. Yes. Oh, there, good. So you know where my blade's going to be because I evaded it. You know exactly where it's going to be. Oh, my mistake. Partly mine. Don't forget with the invitation you've got to make it easy for me to evade the blade. Of course, I'm not left-handed, so all easy for me. Oh, there we go. I think maybe too far away to get that going. Good. Yes, good.
Of course, the deeper you are, harder it is to have it as two with ledges.
Yes, I mean, I'm not necessarily saying you want to be sort of top 3 inches on this occasion because you're not going to get close to the final hit, are you? Okay, this next time you're going to use the cease invitation gate defensively inclined to attack into that. But you're going to do quite a slow big cease. And then when the attack comes, you're going to do really sharp ceases. So you've got to use different characters. Each one's going to have a different character. The first one quite slow and big, to draw the attack, and then small and sharp and fast attack. I think I might go, I might not. Okay, good, that's good, that's good. Let's show me the target, show me what to do with my blade. That's the idea. I want to really hear that flick sort of coming off. You want to be good at finding the blade. Yes. Okay, nice flick. You kept it up nicely. I'm not sure how solid the hit was there. Ah, a bit better. I think the last one, yes, but some of the other ones you did, I could hear that point kicking a lot more solidly. What do you think? It's a bit doubtful, isn't it?
Needs to be closer on the shoulder.
Yes. These type of things you could put your jump in, couldn't you?
Yeah.
I'm not saying we have to do it today, but there are the options. Connor would really like it. missed altogether. It's important if you do something like that, but you do have to get the hit, otherwise you can look a bit out of it. Okay, yes, there it is. Again. Good, that was that. One more. Yes, I thought that was on. That's on. That's on. Now then, we go to our parry pass, parry cease to pass, but with plenty of variety in terms of how you fix the point and where you fix the point. Good, good, yes. Expect that. That's okay. Okay. Always trying to show you when you do it, so don't sort of change your mind in the middle of something. And each one you do wants to be a quality hit. Right, technique for each action. Good. No, the distance is right. Okay. Yes. Yes, good. Good. One hit per parry. Yes. Okay, now we do the same action with a right-handed variation. But again, we can look for variations of how you're going to do the boss. And where are you going to hit with the boss? Yes. See, you can have that, can't you? Please. Good. I'm not sure about that one. Oh, I missed it. Almost. I'm not giving a very exposed target there, but it's still available. Yes. Good. Yes. Yes. Yes, got it. Yes, good. Okay, very nice. Intelligent. Now, one of the things I was noticing from Tuesday's lessons, I did point out briefly about recovery from the lunge and needing to start with back knee bending first, so you get back to the guard position there. Other advantage is, the first thing that's moving away is the target. It's moving away from the opponent first away, and of course, this is easier to do. But very often, from your lunge, there are a lot of instances where that leg is sort of straight and locked, and it's that, and then of course you've got to establish the guard position. It's slower, it's more effort, and you don't get back to a proper guard, so it needs to sort of change a little bit, that doesn't it? And the way we're going to do that is going to do our lunging actions with the squat, but the squat's not going to be a forward recovery, but back. So it's going to be lunge, back to squat, and then lunge from the squat position. So that the initial recovery from that first lunge starts with back knee bending. Yeah, get something to that. lunge, and back, good, and go. Right, now we can do that second lunge with the disengage, can't we? Yeah. Really sit down on the back leg and then push from there. That's the lunge. Up, good. Yes, keep the hand going up, hands dropping down a little bit. Try and focus also on making that second lunge more powerful than the first, so it's got more energy. Back, good. Up, yes, hand up. Back, good. Push up the back leg there. Up, good. How's that feel? Tiring. I think you're getting the recovery better. You know, up. Yes, good. Nice. One more. Yeah, good. I think that's an area to pay attention to. So, the recovery is not so effective. It's a common problem. You see it quite a lot because at the end of the lunge, this leg should be locked out because you should have used that one to propel you, so it should be locked. And so people are a bit slow getting it, so relaxing it. It's that movement there that's quite positive. Okay, we're going to try some of our little speed exercises again. Fairly simple variation, straightforward variation from stationary. And we can maybe experiment a bit with distance. Try to this distance. I hit the floor. Try and parry. Stretch it out. Ooh, still get it. Good stuff. Yes. Maybe we find where the limit is. Let's try it again at that distance. It's quite a long distance to cover. It's good. One more go. I think we might have found where the limit is. Ah, good attempt. Let's try it with flesh. In theory, you should be able to hit me from a slightly long distance with the flesh. Of course, you've got to load your stance slightly differently because you want to get more weight over the front foot of the flesh, don't you? Try it with the flesh. It's not getting there, is it? Yeah, that's right. Good. Okay, so a few straightforward lunges then. That's right. Try and have your shoulders relaxed doing this.
And recover like that.
And recover properly.
Yes. Am I recovering properly?
Let's have a look. I have to say I wasn't watching specifically that on that occasion. Maybe it's hard to see from this side, see, because the back leg initially is sort of obscured by your front leg. So from the coaching side, I can see it from the side when I took a video with you, but from here I don't immediately see it. So, but you should feel whether you're doing that.
So always knee first.
Yes, I mean it's the initial transfer of the weight back, that action there. So if you're staying down low, but you're going there, and that means, of course, that you get back to this on guard position. More immediately. Yeah. Okay. Right. One more. Okay, good.